Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and tarot energy reading for the full moon in Taurus. This full moon is on the 5th of November. It is at 13 degrees of Taurus. As we know, when we're dealing with a full moon, we have the sun on one side of the sky and the moon on the other. And that's where we get that reflection because the moon does not have its own shine or glow. And this is a really interesting moment. It's also our little back to back Venus event because we had that new moon in Libra 2 weeks prior, and now we're going into another Venus ruled moment. And it's interesting because Venus is at that later degree that we were at with that new moon. So the Venus is right where that new moon in Libra was. So this is very much a continuation of that Libra story. We're not switching from the Libra Aries axis into this Taurus Scorpio axis without crossover. And obviously in astrology, there's always some kind of crossover, but especially here because that new moon is at 28 degrees and Venus is there on this day. This is like very, very, very similar vibes. And I think it might be spooky how similar the themes are. Obviously, we have progressed and moved through different experiences in the past few weeks, but this moment is kind of like the revelations and the connections and the crumbling or the building that we started on that new moon. We're coming to a point of like recognizing everything that's happened. And also because of where we are in the year and we're kind of hitting the darker months, this is a great moon, especially with that Libra new moon popping off earlier. This is a great moon for retrospection for several reasons. One of the reasons that it's great for retrospection is the fact that it is trine the South Node. And the South Node is a place in the sky where eclipses happen, and we have the North Node that's opposite. But with the South Node, we are being called to look at all of the excess of things in our lives and all of the past decisions and the cycles and the themes. And in Virgo, it is going through it with a fine tooth comb. It is looking at the details. It is remembering moments with really wild clarity. It's also working through what is done and what is finished, and not just working through it and throwing it away. We are working through it and sorting out what we want to keep and what we want to leave behind, and what parts of our lives are kind of not acceptable is the right word, but attuned to our present, and what parts are no longer like aligned with the person that we are now. So a lot of us, I think, especially between these two moons and also moving into the rest of Scorpio season and the Mercury retrograde and all of these things, are really going to be given a look of the things that are finished and the things that are done and the ways in which we have survived, because Taurus is about not just growth, but also what happens when we aren't resourced. And so survival lives in Taurus. If you are a Taurus sign of Taurus placements, those placements are very often where survival thrives. We can also look at things like Aries is a very survival centric space, like kind of just that raw, that raw existence. And Taurus is like the surviving lack, the surviving, not having our needs met. And so this full moon is about that, the places where lack has happened and the places where maybe we and other people have not met our needs. We also, while this is not really connected directly to this moon, but the sun is still in Scorpio, we also have Mars at 0 degrees Sagittarius, which is very spicy. And so in the midst of recognizing kind of the effects of the past and the things we're leaving behind and what we need to release in order to progress, we are also being offered a really beautiful look at the possibilities. However, after we experience Scorpio, Mercury, Sagittarius retrograde, that is up and coming and starts on the 9th, just 4 days after this. So there's a massive amount of stuff that is going to shift and change, specifically once the outer planets go direct, which is going to happen towards the turn of the year. But we are currently in the thick of it. Also, Mars is opposing Uranus. This is also a call to action, a what has not been done that has needed to be done, what has not been innovated, what has not been thought through that needs to be thought through and pushed forward in order for us to change and to grow And also, as we know, Uranus is unexpected things, so expect world stage stuff to kind of pop off in an unexpected way. Never forget that Uranus in Gemini was our Uranus for the last World War. So there's a lot of weight and heaviness to this time. And I think in kind of a weird, cathartic way, this full moon is letting us release, letting us let go. I don't think this is technically fresh grief per se. It might be for some of us. I don't know if it's technically fresh grief, but just recognizing where things have run their course. And also recognizing that it is a good thing to grieve something that is beautiful, but that is gone. It is a good thing to grieve a moment that may not be right for you right now anymore, but was right for you in the past, and honoring and appreciating that, and then laying it to rest and having a little funeral for it. Actually, I would suggest, as a practice, maybe taking some time to recognize the old parts of yourself, to recognize the things that the dreams that you fought for that maybe aren't really for you anymore, but that deserve to have their moment in the sun. And maybe do a bit of a death ritual for these things. You can write them out on a piece of paper. You can blow them into a candle with intention and burn the candle or burn the paper and sing a song, do a hymn, do a chant to release these old desires and dreams that are no longer what you need, no longer what is necessary for your growth. Um, we're going to go through this Mercury retrograde, and we're going to get even more clarity on what is not aligned with us, and on the people who aren't really aligned with who we are now and aren't really, there for our success, and there to participate in our lives. And we're gonna have people who have failed us before, who are gonna pop back up and want to like re-engage. And so this is a time to kind of preset that stage and release this moment, release these desires and these old needs and old situations and old relationships. If you're hanging on to a relationship that is over, this might be a good time to put it to rest. And obviously, we will always grieve things that are gone, but this is kind of like the official funeral of this thing that is going to allow you to energetically move forward, to pick the things that are best for you and the things that you deserve to have. It's also good to remember that, Uranus and Pluto have a trine, and there's a sextile with Mars and Pluto under this moment. So there is, a very real sense of deep seismic change. And that's all on a personal level. It's on a societal level. It's on a global level. So honor yourself in this moment with allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to be different. Recognize the places where things are no longer in alignment, where you just don't really need that thing anymore, or that relationship isn't right for you anymore, or that person just isn't the person that you need to be connected closely to in this moment. And this isn't a time, I don't think, you can if you need to, because Mercury and Mars is in Sagittarius. You can rant and rave and be angry at the situation. But I think the vibe of this moon is more of like, yeah, it was really great and beautiful while it lasted. It was really great and beautiful while I needed it, especially with like dreams and hopes. Like some dreams are literally there to simply help us survive until we can get a dream that is even more aligned and help us shift into the reality we truly desire, rather than the one that maybe society gave us or our families gave to us. So yeah, that south node is going to be purging and cleansing. The moon is going to be releasing. So I just would suggest overall doing a big releasing exhale, something to let things go, because we are now calling in new things as we head into this next Gregorian year. We are also kind of in the last water sign before Pisces season, which is our final water sign. So we're in the middle of the water trifecta while there are literal grand trines in the sky at this moment with Saturn, Neptune. The sun is approaching it at Jupiter. So, yeah, pardon me. This is a moon of release. This is also a moon that's grown up a little bit, I think. This is a moon that's a bit serious. It's going to be beautiful. It's ruled by that 28 degrees Venus. It's a domicile Venus. It's in a happy place, but it's in a happy, safe place so we can recognize where things haven't been. So we can recognize how we want to create safety for ourselves and others. So we can recognize how we want to make the world a better place. And that is going to require us to leave old parts of ourselves behind. And not parts that are integral, but parts that have been put on us by society and, abuse and trauma. Um, that we can now release into the ether and let go of. Recognizing that we can never fully let go of everything. So yeah, that's definitely the vibe. I would, breathe out as much as possible. If you can do a humming session, also, this would be a great time to get a tarot reading for the future as you let go of the past. This would also be a great time to do Reiki, to initiate something like past life remediation, or even to engage in some kind of ancestral work to ask the ancestors what they want or to resolve an issue that you cannot move past. And this can be for both the living and the dead. But yeah, this is a moon of release and this is a moon of letting go while also stepping into the future. And it was really kicked off by that Libra new moon, and it's really going to be bringing those themes up. So if that Libra new moon was really uplifting and enriching, you were probably going to see something similar with a bit of watershed. But if it was really hard and difficult and something that, you really dreamed of or hoped for, or something that you thought was going to last, or you believed in someone and it turned out not to be true, you were going to be dealing with that. So just know. Getting into the cards, we start off with the Queen of Pentacles. The best way to honor yourself, besides what I mentioned with ritual and stuff, is to really nurture your inner world, is to really believe in the power of who you are, in um, your magic and your goodness. And even if you're feeling under resourced externally, to believe in your value, to believe in your abundance, not being delusional and pretending that everything is okay, but saying that I deserve care. I deserve the, abundance. I deserve to have food and basic human rights. And I also have the power and ability to create and give life as well as deserving all of these things. I get to participate. So this is a beautiful time to recognize yourself and the power and the struggle and the beauty that exists in you. We do have an Ace of Wands. I think this ending is also a beginning. We are going to reconnect with passion. We are going to reconnect with desire. We're going to, once we release, I do think it is this little precursor to our Mercury retrograde. During the Mercury retrograde, we are going to be continuing this release process, and it's going to clear space for some really beautiful, progressive growth and change moving forward. So know that the next little bit towards the end of November is all going to be a releasing and a reconsidering and a re-understanding of things, but it's going to be clearing space for all of the things that we deserve and haven't been getting. Then we have our Three of Cups. This is also a beautiful time to recognize and honor your friends and the people who have shown up for you and the people who are in alignment with you. And also to recognize the people in our past who maybe we're no longer connected with, but who, for the time they were in our lives, made a huge difference, were there for us, regardless of the reason that we separated. And you don't have to reach out to them or pull a Mercury retrograde and slip into a DM if you don't want to. But to just let your friends know that you care, to recommit to community and mutual aid and doing your part. And it's also a moment with how hard things have been and how difficult and just the struggle of it all, um, to really, recommit to our little corner of the world that we can make better so that, we in our own way can make the world a better place. I also forgot to mention that Venus is in a square with Jupiter. So there might be a tendency to overestimate a relationship's potential, or kind of project our desires onto other people without a conversation, without consent. So just be cautious of kind of overinflating someone's place in your life and being like, well, they have to do X, Y, and Z. And if I don't have them to do X, Y, and Z, then I can't do X, Y, and Z. Um, People are important, but also, not everyone can show up all the time in a life that is so difficult and in a world that is so kind of torn. So have some grace for people in this moment. Obviously, if there's a pattern of being unreliable and uncaring, then this is the time to cleanse. But hold space for those relationships, believe in them, and remember that when you have more energy, and as we roll out from this new moon or full moon, remember and recommit to engaging in relationship in a healthy way, in nurturing your friendships and your family relationships if you have family and things like that. We do have a Two of Pentacles. I do think we are also with a Taurus full moon dealing with navigating finances and figuring out where to put, what is most valuable. This card always screams to me accommodation because I am disabled. This is the card of learning what accommodation is and also understanding the difficult choices that people have to make in accommodation. I have to do certain things and buy certain things to accommodate myself. It is very expensive. So taking into context as you are deciding where to put your stuff, not just the monetary value of something, but the physical value. If you can, and if you have the ability to, maybe there's a way you can make your life easier by shifting some of your resources around. Maybe there's a way to, I think a good example, and I'm not telling you to go out and spend tons of money, but a good example for me as a disabled person is I bought a cheap battery powered handheld vacuum instead of having one that requires me to bend over or to push something heavy. And that's been a really big accommodation for me as a person. Wasn't super crazy expensive, but it makes my life so much better. It doesn't have to be material. It can be also just like I'm going to change my eating habits or my living habits, or I'm going to stop eating this food I really hate because I'm an adult and I hate it. Why would I force myself to eat something I don't want to? So, just reconsidering our habits and the ways in which we care for ourselves and the ways in which other people are cared for. The Two of Pentacles to me is also advocation, to advocate for others, to, something that I really find a lot of joy in is educating people on disability and the unique struggles within it, and also the ways in which having a society that centers disabled people makes society at large better. Because when you are accommodating the people who have the most needs in society, you are accommodating everyone. And the dips in the sidewalks are a disability accommodation when you step into the road. That was for disabled people, and they fought for that. You know, you aren't disabled, but you push a stroller, you benefited from disability. Elevators, escalators, um, ramps, all of these things that people don't think about day to day, it's a big deal. People who advocate for sidewalk repair, um, it helps even like people who aren't completely disabled, who are the elderly. If a wheelchair can roll over a sidewalk, you as a regular person are also not going to trip and fall and hurt yourself. So, I think this full moon is also an opportunity to view the world as an integrative experience rather than just what can be built for me in the moment. And that's something that I investigate as a disabled person. It's not just my needs in this moment that I care about. I care about the needs of my fellow disabled people. I don't use a wheelchair, but I still try to pay attention to the landscape to see if it is wheelchair accessible and to point it out when it's not and to talk about solutions to those issues. And that's just an example, but it's very Two of Pentacles. And then we have the Hierophant. All of this is about perspective. Mars and Mercury and Sagittarius are also bringing in the knowledge and the wisdom element. We also have an exalted Jupiter that's about to station retrograde. And that, is all about wisdom. This full moon is about taking your life lessons, not judging yourself, not punishing yourself for past decisions and mistakes, but taking those lessons and learning from them, sharing your experience with others, knowing how to participate in change and being able to recognize the places in which you have been stuck, because Tauruses can get stuck, says a Taurus sun. This South Node trine is allowing a very fixed sign to experience release and to experience loss in a way that is more fluid. So embrace this moment, especially with that, also we'll have a North Node sextile there. So yeah, let your feelings be what they are. Take the lessons you have learned, share them with others, learn from other people's lessons. We do not live in isolation, and nor should we. we need to care and activate for the rest of the world, and to really investigate ways in which we can make not just our lives better, but the lives of everyone around us. And I feel like that is very much the ethos of this full moon, as well as release and grief and recognizing the places where we need to move ahead and let things go that no longer serve us. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for this full moon. You can ask me any questions in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a different space and time.